I love talking with passionate business owners. Their enthusiasm is irresistible, their knowledge is invaluable, and their wisdom holds the keys to transforming your passion into a successful business. As a marketing strategist, I help people around the world innovate and grow their business. I'm Jay Hamilton Roth, and this is Business with Passion. This is the second of a two-part show on the passionate people responsible for making San Francisco's Fleet Week a success. Today's episode features some of the people who helped put on the heart-thumping air show, including the U.S. Navy's flight demonstration squadron, the Blue Angels.
Well, I was in the Canadian Air Force for 20 years, and the last 5 years was flying air show demonstrations. And when it was getting close to retiring, trying to think what would I want to do for a second career. Flying airlines after flying air shows didn't really seem attractive, and my wife said, well, you enjoy air shows so much, is there anything you can do there? Can you make a living? 15 years later, I'm still wondering if I can make a living at it, but it is the one thing I enjoyed the most in my military career, and I did manage to carry on and stay involved in the air shows as a civilian. I grew up in Montreal and had no interest in flying. It was the early 70s. I was logging in British Columbia, going to work every day in a helicopter. And I thought, wow, I'd like to try that. And of course, a very expensive training, and the Canadian military said they would help me out. And next thing you know, 20 years had gone by, and had a wonderful career. The Air Show Network produce air shows across North America for communities who want to have an air show and don't really have the expertise. We come in, work with the airport, the community, the local volunteer groups and sponsors, and put on an air show. I like to say, when my children ask me what you do, I said I worry about pilots and porta potties and everything in between. And there are a lot of logistics. We do have an impact on the community, definitely, and not everybody wants to have an air show in their backyard. So there's a lot of community involvement. We try and mitigate it for people. As I said, pilots, we reserve the airspace, work with the FAA to make sure the pilots are legal and safe. The aerobatic box they fly in has to be secure, away from people. Right down to people have to know about it, the advertising. Getting the right people, in the right place, at the right time, in the right frame of mind. And that's key to this. Our volunteers are a big part of it. They come out, they love the air show, they love helping people. We have some volunteers that I've worked with in San Jose and up here, been with us now for 12 years. The concessions bring in revenue, the sponsorship bring in revenue. That's a large part of it. As a free show, you can watch it from anywhere on the waterfront. But there are also reserved seats. If you want to avoid the crowd, you can buy a seat online, and there's a revenue stream from that. And of course, the business adage, there are people that want the best. So we have a $150 ticket. They wouldn't come unless they could have the best. So we have a very exclusive chalet, and that generates some revenue as well. Watching the families at Fleet Week, and I've seen a grandfather, a father, and a young child. The grandfather was at Fleet Week, brought his son to it, and now his grandson, and it's great to be part of that tradition.
I learned to fly down in San Jose when I was 16 years old. Got my license when I turned 17, the first opportunity I had, and I've been flying ever since. I spent, after college, I went into the Air Force and spent 22 years in the Air Force and Air Force Reserve. All of my military time was flying fighters, F-15s, F-16s, F-4s, A-7s, the fun stuff. Early in my career, early in my military career, I looked ahead and decided that I wanted to be flying 10 years hence, and because of that, I actually left active duty Air Force and went into the reserves, because the reserves offers a path for a pilot to continue to fly and sort of sidestep the staff jobs and things like that that are needed on active duty to stay for a career. So looking back at the end of that 10 years, I decided I was right. I wanted to keep flying. The job of flying for United Airlines flight test is very similar to one of the assignments I had in the Air Force, where I worked for the Warner Robins Air Logistics Center at the F-15 maintenance depot. We did virtually the identical mission in that case with the F-15, in this case with the fleet of United Airlines airplanes. The nature of our job is such that we have no typical day. We have about 15 different typical days, and so they vary from one day to the next. We may come out and fly a 747 today and go jump in the Airbus A319 tomorrow or this afternoon. One day we may be called up and asked to go to Hong Kong or Tokyo. The next day we may sit around and just wait for the phone to ring. Nothing happens. In between, we spend our time training and staying proficient in all the different airplanes of United Airlines fleet. Well, this is a special privilege to be able to fly in Fleet Week and demonstrate airplanes. You know, I grew up in San Jose, so to be able to go fly and show the airplane, show off our airplanes to the hometown crowd is really pretty special. And I've been involved in the air show business more on the side of an announcer for 30 or 35 years. So to be able to fly in the air shows is a special, nice little twist. I guess the only downside to it is, as I found out last year when we flew in the air show, is you don't get to watch the air show. Nevertheless, it's a pretty good trade-off.
It's almost, the way I explain it is almost like the director of a play. You take all of the elements, you take the pilots, you take the support services, and you put them all together. I do all the briefings, all the scheduling. So it's getting everybody to play on from the same sheet of music. Typically an air show day, I get up, I check the weather, I go over my scheduling, everybody gets together at one briefing. I get one chance to get all of the key players, the support services as well as the pilots, into one room, and we go through the schedule, we go through all of those things. And that's what we did this morning. After that, then I come onto the pier and control the aircraft as they come into the air display box. At some level, anyone that's got anything to do with the aerobatic area during the temporary flight restricted area, they have to talk to me. Every show site is different. There are different challenges at each one. Some it's terrain. For example, this one, this one has a lot of challenges with it because of the location of all the airports with regards to the bay. So the aerobatic area is not on airport. Sometimes I'll have up to 4 or 5 airports that I have aircraft coming in and out of. I started my flying up in British Columbia, Canada, and owned a floatplane company for about 10 years. So commercial pilot and kind of come by it honestly. I always wanted to fly, but I just kind of fell into it. A small show and then another show and another show, and you learn and you grow and you do courses. And I've been getting into mentoring lately, so any new air bosses that want to just have me on board for a year to kind of, you know, make sure they've got everything in place and that everything's safe, I'm doing that now as well. I just hope everybody comes out to an air show and enjoys the aircraft, and knowing that all of our rules and regulations are in place and keeps everybody safe.
United States Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron takes pleasure in performing for you. This, one of our many practice flight demonstrations of the 2010 season.
I started my Marine Corps career back in 1992. I was a senior in high school. I was looking for something to kind of define a cut between moving on from high school to becoming a man out on my own. So I enlisted in Marine Corps Reserves, went to boot camp, came back, attended Auburn University, got my degree while I was in the reserves, and then an opportunity for aviation opened up. So I decided to try that. I figured it's a 6-year commitment, and if I didn't like it, then I could move on after that. Well, 18 years later, I'm still in the Marine Corps. I've had a blast. Couldn't imagine doing anything else. I truly love my job, love the people I work for, love the Sailor Marines that work on these aircraft, and it's hard to beat. I grew up in Auburn, Alabama, and every opportunity that I've had has come through the Marine Corps. I didn't think aviation was an attainable goal or a dream. But through the Marine Corps, there were several programs that were offered. While I was in college, there was an aviation incentive program which allowed me to go up and get 25 hours in a Cessna prior to going to flight school. So I actually did my first solo in a Cessna 172 out at Auburn University. Then proceeded down to Pensacola, Florida, and from there ended up flying the mighty Hercules.
To the left, Major Burks is approaching to demonstrate the short field takeoff capability of the Lockheed Martin C-130 Hercules. Approaching center point, he'll raise the landing gear and execute a high-performance climb, placing the aircraft in a 45-degree nose-up attitude.
We are just fleet representatives to kind of showcase a little cross-section of the Navy and Marine Corps. You know, and our primary mission is bring naval aviation home to all the Americans. San Francisco is very privileged because you have a lot of the ships that come in and out for Fleet Week, and you know, kind of a small military presence that everybody can see on a daily basis. A lot of places we go to around the country don't have a chance to see the military in action or a base or ride a tank or get a flight in an airplane or a helicopter. So we bring a little taste of that aviation to their community. So as long as we can walk away and hopefully inspire one or two people, not necessarily to join the Navy or Marine Corps, but just to do something in life that they thought that maybe wasn't going to work out for them, but at least try, we have accomplished our mission. This is my third year on the team. I've seen probably close to about 300 to 400 demonstrations, and every time I watch it, I am truly amazed. When you see the music, the narration, just the jets, it makes me proud to be an American. What you'll see this weekend is you'll see Fat Albert Airlines come across first to kind of open up the show. We'll put on about a 10-minute demonstration, show you the max capabilities of the Lockheed Martin C-130. After that, you'll see the Delta formation flying the Boeing F-18 Hornet. They'll come in, you'll see maneuvers from the Diamond, which will show you the precision flying that naval aviators are all known for and taught. And then you'll see the solos perform their maneuvers. They'll show you the max power and the raw capabilities of that aircraft and what it can do in combat situations. All these maneuvers that we'll fly this weekend are actually taught to us in flight school. These are maneuvers we use out in combat, other type of tactical situations. Well, all we do is we take all these maneuvers and we put them in and choreograph them into a nice, aesthetically pleasing show for the public. A typical day, wake up about 4:30 in the morning, go hit the gym. Then we're back in the office about 5:45 to do paperwork until about 6:15. From 6:15 on to about 6:45 is just the other run-of-the-mill paperwork, kind of start reviewing the flight procedures for the day. In the brief room, right off to practice, back from practice to the museum to sign autographs, back from the museum for the debrief that'll last about an hour and a half, and then after that, then we go into our all-officer meeting, then into our department head meetings, and then after that you have the rest of the day to finish up the rest of your paperwork, go hit the gym, and then enjoy some of the city's entertainments for a couple hours at night. I love my job, so it's a great job. It's a very humbling job because every day we wake up, put this suit on, I know that I'm representing the 540,000 men and women of the United States Navy and Marine Corps, which a big chunk of those guys are deployed right now that are keeping us safe, keeping our country safe, and it's a big honor, and we take that very seriously here on the team. My expectations have been met many times over, and I tell you, I have had so many great opportunities in the Marine Corps that would not have been open to me anywhere else. Traveled to about 26 different countries, lived in Japan for 3 years, and it's been truly amazing tour and journey. Basically, in your job, you have a certain mission or a certain amount of things you need to accomplish. Everybody has their own personalities. It's the great thing about the Navy and Marine Corps is you mix and match those personalities in together to come up with the best recipe. And the recipe that we found is that you know, you pull everybody in, you work together, you know your teammates' strengths and weaknesses. Mainly strengths, very little weaknesses around here. But you put those together and you come up with some amazing results. You know, individual, my call sign's Cletus. I'm from Alabama. Everybody knows me as the resident hillbilly. So, you know, everybody is great characters. You know, great people that you'll have stories for the rest of your life. I know I'll be telling stories from the adventures from my 18 years in the Marine Corps for the next 40 years. You spend about 2 to 3 years here on the team, and can't stay too long or else it will affect your military career. So we got to move on, press on out of here, and continue to hit the wickets needed for promotions.
Ladies and gentlemen, directly before you, the Blue Angels C-130.
It's bittersweet leaving the team here in the next 7 weeks. Really going to miss the job and the mission, but I know that it's definitely time to move on and let some of these other guys get an opportunity to go out and represent the Navy and Marine Corps. Me personally, I'm heading to Cherry Point, North Carolina. I'll be picking up with MWSS 274 as the executive officer out there, and truly honored for that job and position, and very excited to work with those Marines out there. I'm a proud father of 2 beautiful girls, one's 2 and one's 6, and I think one of the best things about being away from them is when you come home and they come running up to you out on the flight line there in Pensacola, Florida. That is definitely a great experience, and we'll see them again on Monday.
I enlisted in 2000 in the great state of Kansas. And I enlisted because I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself at the time. I was kind of at a crossroads, and we had a family business, and I'm not much of an auctioneer, so I didn't want to become an auctioneer, and I was looking at different career paths, and I wanted to do something that was going to be exciting, travel, and do selfless service because I was tired of just out there doing work. Really, I was pretty much a jock growing up, and I just liked being outside and running around, but what I did do was I collected a lot of pictures from around the world and I put them up in my room, and now I can check pretty much all those pictures off on my checklist because I've been to just about everywhere I wanted to go. Well, I am the crew chief supervisor, so it's my creative imagination that runs this shop, so I think I have a lot of leeway in that, and I formed the shop to run a specific way, and I think I've done that very successfully. So for individualism though, I try to keep that in my personal life because I pretty much stick to the way the Navy runs, and that's the most professional way to be out here. You know, all these young men and women that I serve with are all going to have to go back to the fleet, and I want them to be the best prepared for it. So this is a very unique job, unlike the fleet, and I just want them to go back ready, up rounds to do the job and not be, I don't want to say soft, but soft. A typical day, I come in here about 3.5 hours prior to the pilots, and I get to climb up in this aircraft and do full systems operational checks, which means I get to turn on the radars, the comm systems, light up the engines, and check all the flight surfaces and make sure this aircraft's safe for boss to go out and fly today, for himself, the public, and to keep my machinery safe. So that's a typical day, and then when he brings it back, then I spend about 2.5 hours looking it over, making sure it's good to go. I just think I have the best pilot in the whole wide world, and I'm going to miss him when he leaves this year. Me and Captain McWhorter have been together for about 4.5 years, so we have a pretty tight bond. So I look forward to seeing him down the road when I'm wearing my officer uniform and getting to hang out with him. But what an outstanding man, outstanding leader, great officer, and probably one of the world's best pilots. It's been an honor to serve with him and be his crew chief, and then in our last squadron be his AO and load his ordnance. I was raised here in South San Francisco. I was born in Denver, Colorado, but my father lived in South San Francisco, so this is my old stomping grounds. My goal is to complete all my education in the Navy, reach the highest rank I can, which I believe would be lieutenant or lieutenant commander, and to get out. And my super goal would be to come back here to South San Francisco and be the football coach and a history teacher at South San Francisco.
For me, there are many strategic insights for San Francisco's Fleet Week success, including the business of Fleet Week brings in lots of participants and guests to San Francisco, which boosts local merchant sales and public relations opportunity for the city. Next, each performer has been perfecting their skills for years to ensure it's both entertaining and safe. The military personnel are without a doubt highly trained and passionately committed to their mission, whether that be demonstrating their talents or interacting with the public. Their youthful energy represents the military well. Coordinating the myriad details takes a skilled logistical team to ensure that the event is memorable for the right reasons. And the spectacle of this event causes people to attend for the fun and to build local community. I hope that this episode has given you many good ideas for increasing your business with passion.
Bye.